Today I'm taking you on a walk from Kings Norton to Stirchley, and we're going to go along the canal and have ourselves a little Sunday morning coffee. So come along for it's not really a ride, but it's come along for the walk, come along for the fun.
For a long time my Sundays weren't really mine. They were either spent recovering from the week before or quietly dreading the Monday ahead. After leaving a toxic work environment, I thought everything would instantly feel better. But what actually happened was this strange in-between state, where my body had left the job, but my brain and my nervous system were still there.
So this Sunday I'm doing something different, and I'm practicing what I preach, which is to make something of my Sunday, enjoy my Sunday. It's half of the weekend. I can't work out how many Sundays we have in our lives, but if I'm wasting them worrying about the week ahead, then something's got to change. It's either what's going on in the week ahead that's got to change, and I've also got to do something with my Sundays and enjoy them.
There's something quietly radical about leaving the house on a Sunday and not having anywhere you have to be. For years, my weekends were just survival mode. I'd crash, sleep, scroll, then feel guilty for wasting the time. I was too drained to do anything joyful, but too anxious to fully rest. And that's one of the cruelest things about a toxic workplace. It doesn't just take your energy Monday to Friday. It steals your ability to enjoy your own time too. Even when you're technically off, you're still on alert, still braced. So just walking out the front door, choosing to go nowhere in particular, at my own pace, that's not nothing, that's actually a lot. And here we are, Kings Norton Junction. This is where two canals meet, the Worcester and Birmingham Canal and the Stratford-upon-Avon Canal. From this one spot, you can head south towards Worcester, east towards Stratford, or north towards the centre of Birmingham, which is the way I'm going today. Birmingham has 35 miles of canals, more miles than Venice, they say, and they're a reminder of unique industrial history.
So we're going to go north to Stirchley, which is a bit north of Kings Norton. So we're heading towards central Birmingham and walk along the towpath.
Construction of the Worcester and Birmingham Canal began in 1792 from the Birmingham end, but progressed slowly. It reached Kings Norton Junction by May 1796. The final stretch wasn't opened until December 1815, so this canal was over 20 years in the making. Pairs of donkeys were often used in preference to horses to tow the boats, and in places where the tunnels had no towpath, the boats were legged through and the horses or donkeys were taken up and over the top. I find that extraordinary. Every stretch of water you see here was dug by hand, shaped by human and animal effort over 200 years ago. These aren't just pretty paths for a Sunday walk, they're monuments to labour. And today they're cared for by the Canal and River Trust, a charity dedicated to protecting and enhancing the UK's inland waterways, conserving these precious assets for future generations. There's something grounding about walking along something that's been here that long, something that was built with enormous effort, fell into disrepair, and was brought back to life by volunteers, people who saw its value. That feels like a metaphor worth sitting with. Once you're on the canal heading north, the world just simplifies, one foot in front of the other. No inbox, no meetings, no performance reviews. My phone's firmly in my pocket. The water keeps moving, the path keeps going, and none of it needs anything from me. When you've spent years in a place where you're constantly watched, judged, second-guessing yourself, this kind of space is medicine. It's like my body remembers, Oh right, I'm allowed to just exist. I don't have to be useful all the time. This is what mindfulness actually looks like for me, not an app, not sitting cross-legged with my eyes closed, doing yoga, although I do that. But my favourite is to spend time just walking, noticing, breathing, paying attention to the light on the water, the sound of the birds, the feel of the earth under my feet. It's not complicated, it's just present. Even after I left that job long ago, the anxiety didn't magically disappear. I'd notice it most on Sunday evenings. A tightening in my stomach, the restless, well, it wasn't really scrolling in those days, but a sense that something bad was coming, even though logically I knew I was safe. I call it something like a toxic workplace hangover. Your body is still reacting to threats that aren't there anymore because for so long the threat was constant. If you've watched my video on the toxic workplace hangover, you'll know this is really normal. Your nervous system is just a bit delayed. It takes time to catch up to the fact that life is different now. And so many of my viewers have shared this in the comments to my videos. One of the kindest things you can do for yourself during that time is this. Just give your body something gentle to do, something with rhythm and fresh air and no expectations. Maybe a walk just like this one, or your version of this kind of activity. Just along here, you pass one of my favourite little Birmingham details, Bournville station. The Cadbury chocolate factory is still adjacent to the station, reflected in the fact that Bournville station's railings are painted in Cadbury purple, and the station signs include the famous Cadbury logo. The Cadbury brothers moved their factory here in the 1870s because they were reliant on the canals for milk delivery and on the railways for cocoa deliveries from the ports. They needed a site with easy access to both canal and rail. So the canal I'm walking along right now isn't just a pretty backdrop. It's the reason one of the world's most famous chocolate brands ended up right here. I love these little layers. You're just out for a walk and suddenly you're standing in the middle of someone else's big, bold decision from over 100 years ago. It reminds me that places hold stories, and when you slow down enough, you start to hear them. So this walk isn't some big cinematic new life montage. It's a fairly ordinary Birmingham canal on a fairly ordinary Sunday. But the boring things are often the most powerful when you're recovering. Choosing to get dressed, to step outside, to spend a couple of hours doing something that's purely for you. No outcome, no metrics, no one marking your homework. That's how you slowly teach your brain that you're not in danger anymore. Sundays are allowed to be gentle. Rest doesn't have to be earned. As you come off the canal and into Stirchley, everything opens up a bit. More colour, more noise, more signs of people making things. I love this area because so much of it is independent. Small businesses, local places, people who've decided to build work they can actually live with. And this is my reward. A coffee, sitting somewhere warm, in no rush, watching the world go by. When I was still in that toxic job, I remember walking through places like this and feeling like I was behind glass, watching other people have a life. Now, being here on a slow Sunday, just wandering, just being, it feels like I've stepped back into my own life again. A coffee on a Sunday morning might not sound like much, but when you've spent years, when even your weekends didn't feel like yours, it's everything. If any of this feels familiar, the Sunday dread, the knot in your stomach, the sense that even your time off doesn't feel like yours, I want you to know you're not broken, there's nothing wrong with you, you're just carrying more than one person should have had to carry. Reclaiming your Sunday doesn't have to look like a perfect morning routine or a perfect Instagram day. It can be as simple as a walk by some slightly scruffy water in a city you know well, giving yourself a couple of hours when nobody gets to make a demand of you. If you're still in a toxic situation or you've recently left and you're wondering why you still feel anxious, I've made a whole video about the toxic workplace hangover. I'll link it at the end and in the description. For now, I hope this little walk with me has given you permission to claim even a small corner of your Sunday back for yourself. Thanks for coming with me. See you next time.